This is not a how-to video. This is more of a how I did it video. I'm not a paid spokesperson for any brand, manufacturer, or distributor at this time. Any products that I display in this video are ones that I have purchased on my own. My name is Tommy and I like to work on DIY projects, and it saves my family a ton of money. We want to be as self-sufficient as possible, so click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell, because I might complete a project that could help you and your family save money as well. Enjoy! So the issue that we really want to fix is some poor lighting in this half of the basement. Of course, one half is going to be finished. We'll talk about that later, but this half is not for the most part. So, as you can see, it's pretty dark, kind of dank, like a basement, and so we want to make it a little lighter. I've added a few lights, which you'll see here in a minute, but kind of in this little hallway area. It's pretty dark, and we want to brighten that up a little bit. So this is kind of the hallway area. This area here is the shop area, and of course, it needs to be bright because you're going to be working, you're going to be looking at things. I have added some lights here in this area to make it a little brighter. I've even added some lights to this work table just because it was so dark and you couldn't hardly see. So definitely something that needs to be fixed. Now, the solution might shock you, but I'm going to go with 12 volt DC lighting. It's going to be powered by solar. It's really not that unusual. If you know anything about campers, RVs, those are all 12 volt systems. I mean, when you think about it, even your car is a 12 volt system. So they're tried and true, they've been tested, and so we're gonna give it a shot. That's what we're gonna do. So fortunately, as we look around here, I already have some of the components that are necessary. I've got solar panels, I've got a charge controller, I've got 12 volt batteries. So that makes it a little bit easier. If you were doing this from scratch, obviously you would need to buy these things, but we'll talk about those components in detail. But this project I'm going to complete in phases, just because it's a lot of cost. You do have to fork some cash out to make this happen. So we definitely, we're going to do it in phases. And the first phase is going to be to rearrange some of these components that you see on this board. Kind of as you can see, this board, it's kind of a mess. Everything on here right now is basically AC power, and so it's all kind of interconnected together. And what I want to do is basically separate this out. Half of this, like the right hand side of the board, is going to be AC stuff, AC power. On the left hand side of the board is going to be just for DC power. So that'll kind of keep it a little bit organized a little bit. So since we're talking about those, let's go ahead and talk about the components that are needed. So obviously you're going to need a power source. I'm using solar panels. Now these solar panels I purchased from Harbor Freight. It was a Harbor Freight kit several years ago, and really, to be honest, I mean, it's worked pretty well. This kit, I think the newer kits do too, but this kit, it comes with the charge controller, so you don't have to buy that separate. And it works for for what I need it to, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work for this 12-volt system. It's because it's just going to be, power and some lights, and it should be able to keep up. So the next thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some batteries. I've got these 12 volt, I want to say they're 15 amp hour batteries. They're not huge, they're not big, but they're not very expensive either. I think I got them on Amazon. They may have been $30, a piece, or $27 or something like that a piece. So not too bad. I have them wired in parallel, and if you don't know what that means, there's two different ways to wire batteries. You can wire them in parallel, you can wire them in a series. I chose to do parallel because I'm running a 12-volt system. So what you do when you wire these in parallel, you keep the voltage the same, so it's 12 volts, but you increase the amperage, or double the amperage if you have two batteries, or amp hours, and you keep the voltage the same. So because I took two 12-volt batteries and wired them parallel, I basically made a larger 12-volt battery, so the capacity is larger. So that's one thing to remember when you're doing this. Think about your needs and what you're going to use, and what this is going to power. So I also have some other items here that I actually had to purchase because I did not have them, and some of this stuff you may not need. I purchased it because I really wanted to separate these systems out. If you're starting from scratch, you may need these things, and if you don't do this type of stuff on a normal basis, you may not have tools or the things that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just cover these items real quick that I have purchased. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is kind of this kit. All of this stuff I did buy from Amazon. I'm not an Amazon affiliate or anything like that. I don't have any partnerships with them at this time. So all this stuff, I paid for myself. I've never used it before, and I will give you my honest opinion and review of these items at the end when I'm done with this, probably with this phase or with this project. So the first thing we're going to talk about here are this kit. In case, like I said, if you don't do this stuff all the time, you're going to have to purchase some of these things. But these are just like some spade connectors and some round circular connectors. It comes with a pretty nice crimper, which you're going to want. You're going to want a nice crimper because you don't want that wire, in there moving around, and sometimes it's connected, sometimes it's not. So make sure you use the right tool for the job. The next thing I got were these box wire nuts. Never used them before, always just used regular wire nuts, but I've heard some good things about them. They're easy to take on and off, and they have a pretty good connection. So once again, I'll let you know how they work. The next thing here is an inline fuse, which we'll talk about after we get all this stuff together. It basically is a safety fuse that's going to go from the batteries to another component. So we'll get into that once we get this stuff together. The next item here is it's just an on and off switch, kind of a kill switch for the batteries. In case you need to do some maintenance or you're working on something, you can shut that off. It's kind of like your main breaker in your breaker box. So hopefully that does its job, and you'll be able to work on what you need to do. The next thing that we're going to look at is the fuse box, and this fuse box, it kind of looks like what you have in your car. It's basically like your breaker box, except it's for DC. As you can see, it's got terminals on the side. Those are your positive connections. Up top there are your negative connections, and you'll have fuses that are in there. It comes with a bag of fuses, different amperage, so we'll get those set up. And then I bought, some people call these, fork connectors. I bought them just so that it's easier to connect things to the fuse block, instead of trying to wrap the wire, around the screw or whatever. It's a lot easier to just crimp that fork onto the end of the wire and just stick it on there and tighten that screw down, so it'll be for a better connection. And the last thing here these are just some USB chargers, and they're DC. So I'm gonna hook those up. Just I figured it'd be nice to have something if you need to charge your phone, or I have a Bluetooth speaker down there that I use quite a bit when I'm working, so it'll be nice to be able to charge that if I need to, and any other DC device that connects with a USB cable should be able to do that. So these are the items that I had to purchase. The one thing too that I want to touch on is, obviously I am not a licensed electrician. My level of safety and safety features may be different than yours, with the fuses and the fuse block and the on and off battery kill switch here. To me, that's enough safety. Some people will put inline fuses like the one here. They'll put that on every wire everywhere, so just do things that are at your safety level. This is at my safety level. So all of these items that I purchased cost about $116 and so, with tax and everything. So just to kind of give you an idea of getting started, I do not know what the Harbor Freight solar panel kit is now, and I'm not going to guess. So if you're interested in it, look it up. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of reviews of them on YouTube and other media. So if you're interested in them, look them up, see what other people have to say about them. I don't at this time I don't really have anything bad to say about them. They've worked really well. So you can get other people's opinions and see if you like them. So, well, let's get to work. Alright, so as you can see, the separation has been made here between AC and DC. I'm going to go through this real quick. I know we kind of already talked about the components already. So obviously you got the solar panels coming into the charge controller. From the charge controller, we're coming out to the battery switch. From the battery switch, we're obviously going to the batteries. And then from the batteries, we're going to this inline breaker, and then from the inline breaker, we're going to the fuse block. So we got the safety features there that we wanted, that I feel comfortable with. So the first phase is complete, and I am ready to feed this DC power to whatever will be connected to this fuse block. So the first step in this multi-step project is completed. In the next video, I'm going into step 2, which is going to include getting the lights up in this hallway area and removing some of the old original wiring and components and stuff like that. We will also go over the new components and things, items that have been purchased. So hope to see you then.